with those 2 weeks of game time gave for themselves, and now we're going to be jumping into picks and bans. LGD on the blue, OMG on the red, and Jack's being taken off the board already, which means to me, like, that seems to be the pick into the K'Sante. I wouldn't be surprised to see K'Sante banned away as well.
Yeah, I guess now that LGD opted into not banning him out, OMG you'd expect not to be the ones to do it themselves. This could be LGD maybe trying to push him to and be like, hey, we can pick that up, and now you don't have the counter that you just banned out. But still, hasn't really been a pick we've been seeing first picked in a lot of scenarios. I'd be interested to see what Shanji would be willing to bring out into it, especially knowing Shanji's, we'll say, vivid champion pool that he's been willing to show in the past. I feel like a lot of things, it's still just about going towards these blind pick bot lane champions. We see Yuumi first pick coming in now, sitting up for probably that Zero Yuumi bot lane. But even things like the Lucianami, still incredibly potent. We see them pretty much contested in every game in every region throughout the world. So I wouldn't be surprised if OMG just opted into something along those lines.
Yeah, and I will say, I love that LGD are banning away Abel's Samira. It's just something that you kind of have to do. Abel has just been that Samira player for so long, but with the Yuumi being picked up first pick, we are going to see the Zeri picked away, and that's just something, again, that you're going to be seeing a lot more of from the sides, where they're kind of saying, look, where does our meta lie? How do we want to make this one work? The Yuumi works great with the Zeri, but it also works great with something like the Sivir, so bot lane kind of just ends up becoming this, as we said earlier, an arms race to see how big you can get your AD carries.
Yeah, Sivir would be the expected. We've also seen a little bit of Ezreal played throughout the world with it as well. It feels like things have really opened up in terms of what teams are willing to play alongside these enchanters. The K'Sante is still something that's on the board as well if LGD did want to go for that here, especially with 2 top lane bans given out. You would expect to see that given a little bit more prio, but no, Meteor going straight towards the Maokai. And I'm kind of interested by this because Meteor has been one of the players who it feels like LGD been fine leaving jungle towards second rotation because he's willing to play anything. We look at their first series, 3 different jungle champions, the Nidalee, the Zac, and the Skarner coming out. But this time, going to keep it stock and standard. And
I love that you brought up as well Meteor and his champion pool, because like Meteor in 2019, I should say, and 2020 was like a big jungle prospect. I personally, when he was on BLG, was a massive believer, if you will, in this guy and thought he could do so much. It did unfortunately just feel like every single time he went to different games and different teams and different setups, it just didn't really work. It kept falling down and down and down, and of course he didn't get a team last year. So coming back in, he has got a lot to prove, because again, a lot of people tethered him as this next generation jungler to kind of, you know, rival some of the people like, you know, which ended up being like, you know, Shun kind of coming into that spotlight. So want to see what Meteor can do with these picks, want to see what he's able to kind of make. And Maokai is just so powerful. We have seen it so heavily prioritized and just banned straight up in all the other major regions because of just the presence it gives you. The saplings eventually go from taking 100 health to 1,000 health to 1,500 health when you build full AP. It just becomes monstrous.
Yeah, so shaving point and click against the mobility on the enemy side is going to be nice, but after OMG sending out so many top lane bans, they are going to end up with the K'Sante themselves. But I like LGD's response, bringing out the Gnar and the Irelia. Gnar is something, again, that was played so heavily in the LCK, but we didn't really see it at all in the first week of LPL that we've had so far. And Irelia against Kassadin, XQW just going to look to bring it to Cream in that mid lane matchup. But with Sejuani coming out on the other side, opens up a pretty decent 2v2. Of course, so Cream's still going to need to be able to get those early levels under his belt. You kind of expect Aki to put a bit more attention towards that top side in the first few levels. Try and pick off that mini Gnar who's just so easy to gank, especially having that passive able to come out, and then putting all of your eggs in the Cream enable basket later on.
Absolutely. Again, you're looking at huge scaling coming out from OMG. K'Sante just becomes his own force of nature eventually in the later stages of the game. Of course, you will have the Kassadin doing Kassadin things, but on the other side of that as well, if you're able to get the ball rolling with this Irelia, if you're able to get that movement happening where you're able to get onto the backline so the Zeri just becomes irrelevant, there isn't a huge amount you can do to try and stop her. Like, this Irelia, if she gets going, will just keep going, and it's going to be a lot on, you know, Aki and, of course, on top side for Shanji to really try and stop this Irelia from, you know, in the team fights from getting onto that backside.
I will say, though, that's one of the things that kind of lets me like OMG's composition a little more, is that it feels like OMG's comp, I mean, you have a nice spread of magic damage in AD, you have like a solid front line, you have a Lulu coming out to enable all that. So you look at LGD side, I mean, almost all your damage heavily indexed into only being physical, and a lot of it is going to rely on that Irelia getting ahead, and then taking Capstan out of the game, but also in the mid game, like you said, able to make its way onto the back line, utilizing the Yuumi, get those heals off, get the sun coming out from her ultimate. So if XQW doesn't get ahead, it just feels like the game's going to be incredibly hard to play for the side of LGD. I don't know if they'll even have a win condition without him.
Yeah, they need this to happen if they are really, I'd say, to really have a chance in those mid to late game team fights. But we will have to see. I have plenty, I'm sure we all do, of experience with a Yuumi just attaching themselves to a very fed laner and not giving a damn about the bot lane or anything else. So we will see how it goes. We're jumping onto the Rift. It's game 1 of the day. Welcome back to the LPL. Of course, a debut for 2023 for you, Lyric. And honestly, you know, I was hoping we wouldn't get things like K'Sante and Yuumi for your first game, but unfortunately we did.
You know, it's better that we get them out of the way now than compared to later. And you know, even though K'Sante's been an absolute menace, there have been regions where he hasn't exactly been working out. I think, what is it, the LEC, he has you know, let me just pull it up. 4 wins and 12 losses. You know, not doing the best all over the world.
I believe he has like a lot of solo kills. Like, he gets the 1v1 for sure. I don't know exactly how good it is, but I'm 99% sure that Medic tweeted out the other day that like he has like a lot of solo kills in LEC. But yeah, I mean, it kind of works again. Like, it's one of those things that, like, yes, you get a lot from your ultimate, but because you are in a situation where you have to obviously sacrifice your tank stats to then get the damage, you put yourself pretty vulnerable. And with the addition, if you will, of like the single target CC that we've been seeing so much of from the bot lanes, it does end up meaning that if you get caught, you can just be bursted out.
Yeah, 100%. But now looking at the lanes, I mean, Shanji gonna be able to have a fine time in this matchup. Sure, Gnar does have the range to be able to play against it, but that low cooldown time on the Q just gives Shanji a lot to work with and threaten those all-ins from coming out. I feel like for OMG, if you can solidify Prio in both top and bot like they have now, it should be quite hard for LGD to make any plays towards mid, because usually it'd be about, you know, maybe rotating your top laner or your support over, trying to set up some kind of dive on the Kassadin and then making your way into the enemy jungle. But with the fact that you have a Yuumi and, again, both lanes right now just not having Prio, doesn't feel like any sort of plan like that is going to be feasible anytime soon.
I like the little path thing we saw from Aki there. Obviously, they did put down information that, hey, probably have a ward on our Raptors, so just avoid that. Don't give away the information. As Shanji doing what Shanji did pretty much in 2022, just owning the lane again. I'm very excited to see if he has got any crazy counter picks. He was kind of the vanguard, if you will, for the Shyvana top lane that kind of had a little moment in the sun during 2022 summer. It definitely became a little bit more potent, I suppose, towards the later stages, and other regions, including like LCK and such, were starting to pick it up because they were like, oh, this works really well.
Yeah, Shanji always has been the man not afraid to pull things out, and I like that. Hitting on something you were talking about earlier, right, is seeing where teams go with this meta, because it definitely feels like it's still very bot lane oriented in my mind, especially with the picks that we have coming out down here. But in the LPL, it's always been about picking your poison, playing around what is best for you. And OMG found pretty much all their success last year just sending Aki up top lane and ganking for Shanji on repeat and allowing him to be that big carry force.
It's a bit of a young lineup, but definitely a storied one, of course, with PP God coming in over Cold. Cold no longer, it was one of the, if not the longest standing member.
That's crazy.
I know, right?
I mean, Cold was still on this team back when I was coaching in LMS and we faced them at Rift Rivals. Had to be 2016 or 2017. The guy's been here for so long. But at least his shoes being filled by someone who showed up many splits. I mean, even just looking at the run V5 went on last year, it was sad that they weren't able to make it to Worlds, but PP God was, I'd say, a large part of the success down in that bot lane 2v2 that Victory 5 had.
Oh, absolutely. I will say, like I said earlier, I have to stop myself here, as top lane taking some pretty bad trades. Doesn't land. The last bit of damage there, and the tower takes 2 little taps on the butt. You say, all right, K'Sante, you're good, but you're not level 6 yet. You can't take that fight, just as we see mid lane going in. And right now, it seems to be a dichotomy. This is the mid lane that we talked about that needs to go well for LGD. Ooh. And that's a force flash. Oh, no! Kept himself stationary, and now Cream's got himself an advantage.
You know, I still like it, though. Xiao Qinghua coming in from the LDL, playing his first game on stage with some guts, trying to set up for that solo kill. He knows that in this matchup, he has to try and snowball, get ahead early, and be the one to take over the game. He goes for it. Sadly, again, just a little bit too far forward, taking so many turret shots. Opens up for Cream to start making his way towards getting online even earlier than he should have.
I mean, this is kind of disastrous. We talked about it earlier that you don't really get an opportunity here if this Kassadin gets going, if this K'Sante is just left to be pushing in. As you can see in the bot lane as well, 10 CS lead on a Cole. But let's have a look at the replay here, because again, like you said, you like the play, but it was just a little bit overzealous.
Yeah, I mean, goes in, you know, procs the mark with his Q, is able to force the flash, but then taking those 2 extra turret shots to be able to go for it. Definitely not worth it. And this is why we were hitting on, right, that a lot of times when you're trying to focus this Kassadin lane, it's not only about having the strong counter pick matchup in mid, it's also about bringing strong side lanes so you can start opting for these dives. Even though mid lane is an incredibly hard lane to dive, Kassadin is one of the champions that kind of makes it possible with how easy he is able to kill in these early stages. But not going to be able to find it. It feels like now, I mean, heck, he's level 7. He's going to have that Rift Walk online. It's going to be a lot harder to get anything on the Cream.
Yeah, I mean, the Rift Walk is going to just make it so difficult, especially as the Maokai, because even then, you're going to put yourself in a bad situation. If he goes to twist and advance forward, and then he just pops himself behind the turret, the Aurelia can't follow, you're in danger. You need to leave very, very quickly, but we'll see what they want to go for. Of course, we are going to see Cream most likely going towards that Rod of Ages start to try and get that early stacking going, get that extra level into him as fast as he possibly can. And I am happy to see the Rod of Ages back. Obviously, it did feel like for a while there, mages, specifically the control mages, likes of Rise and Kassadin and stuff, just kind of weren't.
Singed?
Oh, we're going to see. Go for it, but Rift Rocker. Too easy. Too easy.
You know, to me, that was the biggest sadness of Rod of Ages going away. Was like seeing all the Singe mains disappear and all the, oh, we need to stop talking about Rod, though, is actually going to continue.
There we go. Twisted advance. Exactly like I said it would happen. Cream is going to get caught up, though, and ignited down. He's going to not be able to get away from that one. Flawless Duet was just that, and with the Yuumi jumping on the Aurelia's shoulder, it's exactly like we thought it would be. They're going to try and put all their eggs into the mid lane basket.
Yeah, the reset timing from Jin Zhao, a little bit swifter than what came out from PB God. You can see OMG seeming confident in taking that fight because they knew that their Lulu was following up. Shanji also does have Prio in top side, but the amount of burst still able to come out from this early mid-game Aurelia is still quite devastating. And we're going to see here, again, OMG are the aggressors. They feel confident taking this, but look at the mini-map of where PB God is. He's still nowhere close. You've already forced out one of the R's from Cream, and then with the knockback to set him even further from his turret, it just allows for the combination of Jin Zhao and XQW to make sure he goes down.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy setup of the Aurelia, very mobile in the early stages. Of course, yes, the Rift Rock is fantastic on the early stages, but it is actually, despite that, OMG still having priority topside and still able to get themselves that Rift Herald. So regardless of the kills, it is still objective leads going to OMG. And again, giving early gold to anything like the K'Sante or even the Kassadin is just going to spell disaster for LGD. They need to make sure they're keeping tabs on where Aki goes in the Sejuani to make sure they're not just losing out altogether.
Especially when you consider that OMG are still the ones that are up in gold even through what's going down. LGD still seem very aware of what they need to do to win, though, since XQW keeps looking for these trades. But the return trade from Cream still quite nice. And now Aki gonna look for something. And I love the philosophy of plays like this. I mean, this is his first game in the LPL. If you can try and set up for his over-aggression to come out and set him behind, could be very hard for him to recover.
Oh, swing and a miss. We'll get a little bit of damage down. Ignite from the spellbook means that Cream gets him down to about a third of his HP, but XQW going to be just fine underneath his turret, soaking up all of these minions. But the thing is that, yeah, like you said, if that's a kill there, then that's all of a sudden a Rift Herald. That's 3 plates probably as well. This Cassidy gets all the money he needs in the world. There's nothing you can do, and it's just a very bad time. So little, small, important margins to make sure that you do not fall behind as LGD's top laner gets a little bit of free time here. Don't think he'll get the second plate, but...
I'm trying to remember who it was. You know, we actually have a lot of, like, small trading in this game, but I remember there was one mid laner who came into TT. Oh, maybe it was Captain. When like, Captain first came in, and you just saw him get ganked repeatedly,
oh, yeah.
and it just felt like this guy really never even had a chance to
that
play.
Was so unfortunate.
he had, like, one good game, and then team just started hard camping mid. And then, you know, sadly for Captain, UCal came in, and we really never got to see him again.
No, it was an unfortunate setup. Captain was touted as an LDL kind of prodigy coming into the LPL, but just wasn't to be. And that's the thing that, you know, you see a lot of the time with a lot of big players and big prospects is that, yes, you may have the backing and the skills, but if you just get hard countered and you can't deal with that, then there's just not a lot you can do about it, mate. I'm sorry. So, gonna see a flash here by XQW to make sure he does not get caught out, but with the bot lane of OMG now roaming up, they are trying to funnel all the resources into Cream and make sure he gets everything he possibly can to make sure he is as safe and as happy as he ever could be.
And I also really like this coming out from the side of OMG, because when you look at it, top lane doesn't really face too much threat. Even like a gank from Meteor feels hard as long as Shanji has a little bit of vision down, doesn't have any now. Bot lane should be a bit of a stalemate. So your real objective should be making sure that XQW gets neutralized. So if you just keep Aki around mid consistently, it feels like the amount of options that LGD have to even make early plays are very limited.
This has just been farming the bot side for both these AD carries. Normally the Sivir is totally fine with that, but again, you're against the Zeri, so not something I would be advertising to do all the time, as Aki and Cream now trying to see if they can maybe deal with this 2v2 in the mid lane. Not really feeling it right now. The flash twisted advance is going to be good. That's a great ultimate there from Aki to stop the ensuing Aurelia, who can't really get onto the Sejuani, and that's a couple of summoners burned, but at the end of it all, it's still OMG, in my opinion, who come out on top.
Yeah, Cream, having the spell book, was able to throw out the exhaust so XQW couldn't make it any further. They're hoping to use the burst potential they have now to try and find these advantages, but it's even just pulling members of LGD away from their turrets. You saw they're down on the bot side. It opened up for able to take more plates, and right now OMG just being such a nuisance. And to be fair, right, with some expectation setting, it's like, with OMG keeping a majority of their same roster, they should be favored coming in. They should be one of these teams who are able to pick off early wins just by the fact that they should have things like a system and like practices implemented as compared to LGD, who are having to rebuild from scratch.
Absolutely, and again, like you said, they have the ability to be able to almost instinctively know how a player is going to play, how they want to try and move around the map. They have all these things built into themselves. They should be, in theory, able to make these things work in a much more cohesive manner. But right now it is definitely turning into a little bit of a snowball against LGD. This mid lane has just been funneled gold right now, as we can see Cream looking to try and get another plate there, but not to be getting it. But again, don't forget, plate's got some more gold now. They're no longer as cheaply given over. 175 per plate is significant, especially for something like a Cassidy that is just stacking and stacking and stacking the longer this game goes on.
I mean, he's already been sitting on his Rod of Ages for a little bit now. You can see him making his way up towards his next item, and they're just still in such a great position. 2 dragons on the table as well. XQW not really having any other options other than to try and look for these all-in trades. It's what it really has to do anyway. Like, if you want to win trades, you have to look for those all-in opportunities, but especially now, with her not having her flash, it just makes it so dangerous.
Oh, we're going to see a bit of a move here as the all-out for Shanji as he goes all in to try and deal with the Mega Gnar. But nothing really going there. And this is why you pick the Gnar into the Cassante, Witcher, Hop, and of course the Boomerang and stuff like that, your extra range. It's very easy just to mitigate a lot of what you're doing, or a lot of what Cassante wants to do in terms of that early setup. But maybe they still want to go for the dive. You're Mini, and you've been knocked up and sentenced to death. There's nowhere for you to go. As I say that, they're going to reset the aggro, get themselves back in. Good flash. These are some good mechanical plays coming out here, but it's not enough. That was so close to being God tier from the LGD top laner, but sadly, he shall fall to the top lane gank.
Xiaoshu just sidestepped all that so well. The flash is beautiful, but kudos to OMG. Aki just knowing, hey, I'm going to hold this aggro. We need Shanji to be the one dishing out the damage. It actually started out in reverse where Shanji was the one taking third aggro, but now we're going to see what Meteor can do.
It's so difficult. Yeah.
It's nothing.
Nah, I mean, million dashes Cassante. That's what people got. A million dashes and a million bits of CC to get him away. So very, very difficult for a lone Maokai without a first item to really make that one work. But with everyone going back, we do see some first items being picked up. Rift Herald has been started now by LGD. Cream just going down towards his bot side. And honestly, this is just perfect for OMG. They're not losing really anything else on the map. Yes, you're losing the Rift Herald, but you're going to gain a turret off here anyway. So you're going to equal it out effectively in terms of the gold advantage. And importantly for them, it's going on to Cream.
He's going to be doing quite well. I don't know if OMG will be able to hold this in mid, though, so at least for the side of LGD, they will be able to get the trade coming through. But I wonder, with Shanji now making his way over, if they're going to try to threaten and engage here.
I don't even think this Rift Herald's going to be able to charge. If they're not careful, they're going to be able to get the eye. Glacial Prison was thrown out there to make sure they could not push forward there. Meteor now going to find himself face to face with with Cream, who goes very aggressive. The single target CC, but he's got the Lulu wall growth to try and just keep him alive barely. A little bit of shielding going in there, as you can see there. SQW trying to jump in, but Cassante brings him all the way out. And what looked like a little bit of an overextension from OMG, they still come out with the kill.
Both mid laners, right? Cream being a little bit too overzealous, going too far forward, gets chunked out. Wild growth forced out from PP God, but then XQW thinking it's his time to capitalize, kind of making the same mistake on the opposite side. And now, not able to get the mid lane turret. We can see the OMG gold lead is only growing since they were able to get that one in bot lane like we talked about. Cassante, a champion who naturally just loves to go for that Iceborne gauntlet anyway, with the slows able to come out. You think about it, ever since it was changed to only give armor, you look at LGD's composition, it just feels like a perfect fit up against what they're throwing at him. And yeah, it just feels like the longer this game goes on, the harder it's going to be for LGD, as we see here. I'm not quite sure what Cream was thinking. They had all 5 members there. They know Nara's bot side, so that's why they wanted to capitalize on and engage. But it felt like LGD were already out scot-free. But Ashina ended up working out as a bait.
Yeah, I mean, look, did he die, though? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. But, I mean, it was really unfortunate for XQW. He got a 3-man flawless duet that almost was able to give him the opportunity to kill off Abel, but just not quite enough. And now, look at, again, you're looking at the item differential between the Aurelia and the Kassadin. A Seraph's almost built up and, you know, fully stacked here for the Kassadin alongside that Rod of Ages versus just the Blade of the Ruined King. And don't get me wrong, a Blade of the Ruined King is still scary for, OMG, Cream. I don't think your team's going to be able to help you here. You just get the lifeline, but that lifeline's only just going to delay the inevitable. But that's a pretty unfortunate timing, because while this was all happening, they were looking to try and maybe contest this dragon to get themselves on the soul point, but that's just not going to happen.
No, and I feel like this is actually going to be one of the things for LGD that's going to go quite well for them, as Cassante actually TPing in. They want to contest this.
They want this. They're going to try and jump on the Meteor. Remember, he's full AP Maokai. Not quite as tanky as you would expect. Shanji now trying to run away from the Gnar, as we do see Abel going over the wall, trying to see if he can still put down the damage. The Yumi puts out the final chapter, and Cassante is dead. OMG not really looking at their paper, not crossing their T's or dotting their I's. They're going to try and get the Kassadin, the TP back in. Aki looking for a bit of a 50-50. They know they can try and maybe make this work, but they've really overextended now. Now they need to try and see if they can get themselves out. OMG not feeling confident to pursue any further, as LGD get the dragon and a couple of kills, and all of a sudden this game, which looked like this would be snowballing in favor of OMG, kind of being gifted back a little bit to LGD.
LGD just doing all of this off of one pick, and some questionable decision-making coming out from OMG. I feel like one of the big boons for them is just the fact that they have this Sivir. It's going to allow them to constantly push in these waves mid and give them the potential to look for the picks that set them up for that play overall. So with the power of LPC, if they just keep playing as that core unit around mid lane, it feels like it will potentially open up some avenues for LGD.
This is definitely not as convincing, I would say, from the side of OMG. But look, they're still in the advantage by 1,500 gold. They still have a dragon ahead, as we can see now. Meteor trying to look to defend, but I don't think he's going to be able to go anywhere. He flashes away LPC there with Jin Zhao, but needs to be very, very careful. Cream was on the backside. You can see Cream really wants to try and get on top of the Sivir, but it's difficult because you just have so much healing and control with this Yuumi on your back.
It's going to be incredibly rough for them to be able to do it. It just feels like it's going to be about more time for them coming out. Luckily, though, LPC was able to pick up a second item on base, so having a pretty good break point for him. And even though we've hit on like the amount of AD that LGD have, right, they at least have the Maokai able to come through and try to put down some punishment on the opposing side. So I like that LGD have kept it to where they're strong, try and play out for these tight-knit 5v5s. We're getting a lot of value out of things like the Maokai and Yuumi ultimates. For OMG, I feel like it's going to be a lot more about trying to separate them, just keep getting gold onto your Kassadin, and get to a point where you can really try and exploit through the side lanes.
Yeah, well, he's at an extra level now in a minute, or a little less than that, to be perfectly honest, so he should be able to keep himself up. It looks like he's building towards that Zhonya's Hourglass as well, as we now see LGD pushing 4 strong in this top side. It is a Cassante, so you do need to be very careful, very wary. And now OMG are bringing the cavalry. The brigade is coming in to try and make sure that they do not lose this turret or even this fight. Kassadin off to the wings. You can see him kind of moving forward with Ghost in the back pocket. Maybe going to make something work. They jump on the Meteor there with the Glacial Prison. That's going to force out the 2 ultimates from the Yuumi and the Maokai. They flash forward as the Aurelia tries to get onto Abel. The Baron's jumping in saying, hey guys, I'm the 6th man. Here comes Gnar. As he's not even Mega, but he's starting to burn through these health bars. The Baron is an LGD sleeper agent, and he's making this one work. But remember, it's still a Kassadin. You're going to have the Mega coming out. He gets himself right on top of Shanji, who hasn't quite died. Never mind, he's dead now. But the Kassadin has hit his buttons, and the Kassadin equals out these trades. 3 for 3 so far. You've got a Yuumi and a Gnar, though. 2 little Yordles moving forward to try and make this one work. Aki's just getting hit and hit and hit. Cream has no mana, which means he's just going to have to try and back this one away, use the last of it to just try and riff walk. But at the end of it all, it's still a 3 for 3.
And it was just crazy to see, right, the skirmishing coming out from both sides. I mean, when you have so much mobility coming out, I'd say on the key champion on both sides, you'd expect it to be scrappier, to be a bit messier. And with that, with the trade going even, neither team going to even be able to turn this into any sort of objective. We can see it looked like OMG were getting out onto the map first, but we go into the replay, OMG wanting to try to force this pick. They know where Gnar is, so they know there's a potential of them getting collapsed on. But with the Zeri able to get away, in the flank coming in from Cream, it opens up for OMG to start an early victory on the fight. But the fact that Xiaoshu is just running down the bot lane of LGD, it kind of split the fight up onto 2 fronts, where both key sides were able to pick off some important members early on. And you hit on the sleeper agent, kind of, I think, inching it a little bit to LGD, able to find some more picks than they probably should have been able to find to Sheen. But still, at the end of the day, when you're coming out 3 for 3, I feel like for LGD, who were set a bit behind early, they're happy with this. Oh, absolutely. Now you got the Black Cleaver here for Xiaoshu, so he's going to be feeling pretty confident in that side lane. You've almost got your Jack Show for XQW is really wants to try and pick that one up before this next fight, but 30 seconds, I don't think he's going to be allowed to. He does have TP should he decide that he has enough gold to try and TP into this, but we are starting to hit critical mass very quickly into this game. You've already got the third items nearly being picked up for both carries on both teams, and Mikasa just kind of pushing in this side lane with that teleport. It is going to be a little bit more difficult. 2-level advantage again, the power of the new Rod of Ages. You just get so far ahead so quickly, and once he hits level 16, those riff walks are no longer going to be just an escape tool. They're going to be an engage tool. I mean, we already saw what they were doing before, and again, about to be even bigger. Now both teams going to start playing around
Cream
finding picks, but for OMG,
I don't think this one is it, Cream. Yes, you've got the riff walks, but the single target CC that we talked about earlier, he almost takes LPC out with him, but that could be a Baron now for the side of LGD. They're thinking about it. There is a ward in the back of the pit, but they know they can't really give up this Mountain Soul point, because if they give the opportunity for OMG to get a Mountain Soul, their damage just does so little to burst out these carries. So they're making, in my opinion, the correct call, saying, look, we can take the Dragon. We don't have to go for the Baron just yet. We need to make sure that we're just getting more and more resistances.
I feel like LGD are just biting off a lot of the... You know, I don't know why I went with biting off. I don't know what kind of analogies to go with there. LGD are just...
You know what? I'm gonna abandon this. I don't need to talk about this anymore.
You know, it's my first day back. I'm dressed up in my grandma lyric clothes. I get to do what I want. But
You know what?
LGD,
You're right. Respect your elders.
punishing the mistakes, because even with Cream getting picked off there, I don't know how the immediate call from OMG is not just, hey, we see so many members of LGD topside, let's just go for this dragon. And even if LGD try to pivot into a Baron play off of that, I kind of feel like as OMG, you probably just need to accept it goes over, but you'll have enough time to get Dragon and still go for the posture if you believe that you can still try and threaten a 4v5 engage and force them off the Baron. So feels like OMG have just been giving LGD so many opportunities, not giving them anything to bite, but Cream might be going down again.
They've got the Shurelya's Revelry, but Cream is still trying to move over to safety. Again, this is something that we've been noticing a lot this game, is that yes, Cream is on Kassadin. Kassadin, exceptionally strong, almost has the Zhonya's. I'm pretty sure he's going to go back to pick it up right now, so there you go. His survivability is even better. But the single target point-and-click CC available to the side of LGD, if they waste it all on Kassadin, that's still a good use of using those CCs. That's still a good way to get this off the board, because Abel's just not going to be, in a position to be able to try and get onto the backline. So LPC, realistically, is just never going to be touched if the Kassadin's dead.
No, it's going to be rough, especially now at the 3-item mark. We can see he has at least been out Abel in that department of being able to get these items online, especially with a lot of those assists that have been going over. Heck, even as a kill in pocket over Abel on the opposing side. So you can tell LGD would be very comfortable looking for a fight now. For both sides, though, we haven't really seen Summoners blown in quite a while, so both would be at full force going into any sort of team fight. But you can tell OMG probably want to buy a little bit of time for Abel to be able to pick up his next item as well. But now with Cream having the Zhonya's done, really does feel like this Kassadin is just fully online.
Oh, absolutely. Level 16. Zhonya's with the fully stacked Seraphs as well. See now LGD going towards that Baron. They know that they have not got vision on it, effective vision anyway, for the side of OMG, and this is getting them taken very quickly. Cream jumps into the pit and just kind of confirms it for the rest of his team that yes, this is in fact happening. Abel taking about 300 of his own health bar. Kasante on a TP flank at the moment. They've got the Maokai jumping in onto PP God, who's already dead. Abel has to flash away. Oh, stolen! Cream got over the back of the wall. It was so split about the fight can ensue. OMG need to figure out how they're going to try and get these Barons out as Aki leaves the Kasante to die. Triple kill for LPC. You get the fight, you lose the Baron, but LGD, what can you get out of that?
Still huge from LPC to be able to pop off so much. Cream might have been able to steal the Baron, but feels like LGD should be able to get a decent little bit out of this. I don't think Cream can even threaten trying to stop the push, but with the amount of gold they picked up, it looks like LGD just going to opt into backing off. We're going to see how much gold LPC has in terms of what he's able to buy next, and then just set up for the next dragon coming on through, because hell, LGD are in a position where they might be able to potentially just stack up 4 Mountain Drakes.
I mean, that's the scary thing. Let's have a look at the replay here, because again, it's very, very split right now, because you can see LPC and the Yuumi just kind of walking away from this initial fight, but Cream just getting it. I think it's blind.
Yeah, I want to see what goes on, because LPC is like, hey, I don't care. I'm just going to go kill their whole team by myself with the Yuumi, the Cream, finding the time to jump in. Aki right alongside him for this fight to be there. And I mean, just the heist of a century comes on through. I'm surprised members of OMG start walking up at first, thinking they could contest the fight, but at least in the end, they were able to get out of there with some Barons in hand.
I mean, it kind of saves the game a little bit for them, because like you said, a minute's time, you're looking at 3 Mountain Dragons, and yes, some people might say the Mountain Soul is not the most impactful in the world, but when you're looking at a Kassadin who's looking to burst you down, all those extra resistances, you're just not going to die, especially for things like Inar and Aurelia, just so valuable on those kind of carries as we wait to see where we end up going towards this fight, because LGD are in the ascendancy. They're the ones that feel like they're making the plays, as LPC, no flash available to him. We are going to see XQW just tanking that one up for his team as they wait to move this forward. Ooh, good ultimate, but Kasante's already on the backside. LPC needs to back away. Cream trying to see if he can burn this one down, and the rest of OMG are following up with him. They know they can make this one work. A shutdown onto the Gnar. There's nowhere for the Maokai to go. The Sivir is dead. It's all falling apart. What went so perfectly well has just turned into a perfect ace.
absolutely insane coming out from OMG, and with the death timers, I mean, they're just going to be able to look for the end here, potentially. They have the Baron minions as well. OMG just takes this game out of nowhere.
All right, we stopped playing around. We're no longer going to do this. We got the Baron, and now we're going to end the game. That's it. That is it. That is how this game ended. LGD just felt like they were gaining so much from that Baron play, and then all of a sudden you blink and you're dead.
I feel like the biggest thing to take away from that last fight is the fact that summoners were blown on both sides, but when it comes to flashes, it feels like they are much more crucial for the side of LGD to have. Because when you look at OMG's composition, I mean, you have the Caston with the Rift Walk, he has so much mobility. You have the Zeri with the ability to kind of just slide out of there. Kasante up in top side, you've talked numerous times about all his dashes, so with all the flashes being down, I like that OMG recognized it was a pretty opportune time to find a fight. It's just so sad for LGD. They end up all